Hi there, this is Lori with Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. As I'm sure happens with many animal sanctuaries and animal rescues, you may concentrate on one particular type of animal, but once people find out you have an animal rescue or an animal sanctuary, you get all kinds of people that come to you for help with their animals, and sometimes you get species that aren't the typical ones that you work with. And candy corn is one of those. So this is candy corn.
Now she's going under your arm.
And candy corn is a corn snake. It's a common snake throughout the United States. They're pretty hardy and easy to take care of because they're indigenous to a lot of North America. Candy corn is a female. She has been genetically tested, and it is absolutely for sure that she's a female snake. She is about 6 years old, and what else to say about her? She was relinquished to us because her former owner had her from a hatchling when she was about 6 years old. So she's about 6 years old now. Her former owner got her as a hatchling and raised her up and had her for 6 years, and then had to move out of state and had to move in with a family member temporarily who no way was having snakes in her house. So candy corn and her companion came here, which we'll do another video about him. But
how is candy corn to handle?
Candy corn is not as comfortable with human handling as the other corn snake that came with her. So she is a little bit nervous. When you first get her out to handle her, she moves around a lot. And then once she settles, she really feels comfortable. She can coil around something and sit there like she is now. And so that's why I'm just letting her chill. But a couple of safety points is you never want to let any snake coil around your neck, and you shouldn't hang a snake around your neck. We don't advocate that here. It's okay for her to coil one time around my arm, but what I wouldn't want to do is let her wrap several times around my arm. And if you notice, I have her between my thumb and forefingers here so that if she started to coil, it would be easy for me to unwrap her this way. But corn snakes are generally very, very docile. We've had her here since, has it been summer? Last summer? So it's about 8 months, and she's never tried to bite. She's never hissed at me. But she does like to hide a lot. She isn't as comfortable being out in the open and being around people as the other corn snake that we got with her. But if you are interested in an easy pet to have, she eats about once every week to 10 days. And she eats a large frozen thawed mouse or a weaned rat. And she's a great eater. I don't have any problem feeding her. She's in a 3-foot long by 18-inch tall vivarium type setup, and she's got hide boxes on the warm side and the cool side of her enclosure, as well as humidity boxes on the warm side and cool side. That way she can thermoregulate as needed. So she can go in a moist hide when she wants to, and she can do that on the warm or the cool end of the enclosure, and she can go in a regular dry hide when she wants to on the warm end or the cool end of her enclosure. And then she has a large water dish right in the middle of the enclosure that's big enough for her to soak in if she wants to, and it's also a type of water dish that she can hide underneath if she wants to. But she's just super easy to take care of. I mean, it's no problem having her here at Spirit Keeper. But she is technically available for rehoming if someone's interested in an easy snake. Of the 2 corn snakes, this is the one that isn't as comfortable being handled, although I think she's prettier than the other one. But once she's out for a while, she does settle down.
Yes.
About 6 years old, she is genetically tested as female, and that was done through Rare Genetics Inc.
How long do corn snakes, if you know, live?
About 20 years on average, and that's under human care.
And we expect for, if someone takes this snake, to keep her forever.
Yeah, it's a lifetime commitment anytime you get any animal. So we wouldn't want to give her to somebody that just says, well, I'll try it. Because with snakes, it's not as easy to foster them as it is, say, a horse. Horses, you take them to a new place, you give them a pasture or a corral and you give them hay and water and horse feed and other horses, and they're going to be happy pretty much wherever they're at. But snakes get used to a home environment, and they get used to your keeping routine. They get used to your schedule, as in the photo periods, when it's light, when it's dark, what the room temperatures are. They get used to all that stuff, and it is a little bit more stressful for them to change environments frequently. So we wouldn't want to send her to a foster home. It would have to be a home that was going to permanently invest in her for life. Any questions? Because I know the other people on the board and that are the animal caretakers here at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary aren't snake people. I'm the snake person. I have personal snakes, which is why I was okay taking in a couple at our sanctuary. But what questions can you think of, Shelley? And you don't have to be off camera.
Well, I think I asked you. I think I asked you what I wanted to know. How long they live, how the handling is. Care seems pretty easy.
The care is easy as long as you provide them with the appropriate heat gradient. In other words, you can't just turn a heat lamp on and the whole enclosure is 100 degrees. They need a heat gradient. So
Do you want to explain what that means?
Well, so she's in a 3-foot long enclosure. So at one end of the enclosure, the heat is warm. And it gets up to about 90 degrees at the one end. Where if you take a temperature reading at the other end, it gets down to about 74 to 76 degrees. And then, of course, in the middle, it's 80-ish. So you have a gradient. So she can choose if she wants to be really warm or if she needs to be cooler. And you want to make sure that's maintained, because you can cook them if they live in an environment that's too hot all the time. And if they live in an environment that's too cold all the time, that's also not good and can kill them. But corn snakes are pretty hardy in that.
They're not tropical, right?
No. So, you know, they can live at room temperature with a hot spot in part of the enclosure. And they don't typically need high humidity, so we don't have misters or anything. She has her water bowl if she wants to get in it. And then I provide humidity boxes, which is just like a Tupperware container with moist, say the word, sphagnum moss. Moist sphagnum moss in it. And it's got a hole cut in the top. So if she feels like she needs a humid environment, she goes in that box.
Yeah.
And she does use it sometimes.
And so temperature for snakes, you do have to keep the temperature a little raised.
You need to research the species of snake. And you can look up that species. There's reptile care sheets for corn snakes online. You can go to Google Scholar and put in that scientific name or just corn snake, and there's going to be research articles that tells you about their natural habitat and care and husbandry. But there's a lot of free care sheets online. There's also books out there on nothing but corn snakes, because they are I would say one of the most popular pet snakes in the United States, because she's adult, she's full size, and she's not beautiful. Very big. So they're a manageable size. They're very, very easy to care for. You can go on vacation and leave for a week or two, and they're fine as long as you leave them with plenty of water, because they only eat once every week or two.
And you do, I've learned from Lori, you do need to make their environment active. So if they are a snake that hangs, you've got something from them to hang from.
Again, the best thing I can say is research the snake that you're getting. Research that type of snake and make sure that you know what activities, what their time budget is, what that looks like in the wild. So if the time budget for a corn snake is most of the time they sit underneath a dark hide, then you need to provide them lots of places to hide on the warm and the middle and the cool end of the enclosure. If it's a snake that spends 90% of their time climbing in trees, then you need to provide things for them to climb on, like perching and shelving. So while corn snakes do climb some, they aren't an arboreal species, they're not semi-arboreal. I do have boxes stacked upon boxes that she's able to climb on if she wants to get up high.
But once you get them set, they're really,
once you get
really
everything set up, they're super easy to care for, in my opinion. And they're not a pet that's going to demand your attention, like a dog that's going to want to be in your lap, that's going to want to cuddle, that's going to want your attention. Now, if you're looking for a cuddly pet, a snake's not it. But if you want a pet that's interesting to look at, that you don't have to feed every day, that you don't have to clean every day, and that you can go on vacation and leave at home alone, provided that you've got water for them and that their heat source is on a thermostat so that they don't get cooked or too hot or too cold while you're gone. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than a snake, and especially a species like a corn snake, who's a very manageable size and temperament.
Yeah. And I would say if you're interested in candy corn, we will not just let anybody take her. We'll go through an approval process. Right. We're going to make sure that you are appropriate for her.
We're going to ask you things like, how do you plan to keep her? What kind of enclosure do you plan to keep her in? What's your knowledge of corn snakes? What research have you done into corn snakes? You know, what can you tell me about them? And then obviously you have to come meet her and make sure that you're comfortable with her, because snakes do best if you handle them with a really mellow attitude. Like, not quick movements. Don't get excitable around them, because that's just going to make them excitable.
Yeah.
Because the way that they find prey in the wild is through vision, but also through smell and movement. So if they see quick movements, sometimes it can not only startle them, but they may, for just a split second, think, oh, that could be food running by. So if you notice, I'm handling her just real slowly and letting her move. The more you try to restrain them, the more they struggle against you.
How often you have to clean their cage?
So I just spot clean as needed, because they will only defecate about once a week or once every 2 weeks. And that's really based on how often they've eaten and how big of a meal they've eaten. And then urination, if I notice that they've urinated, I change whatever bedding is right around that urine. But total enclosure clean, like strip everything out, clean all the enclosure furniture, I might do that once a month or every couple months. I mean, if you're spot cleaning and you're keeping stuff clean and you clean the water bowl every time you change the water, you really don't need to do a complete enclosure clean out that often. In fact, it can be stressful for them if you take familiar scents out of their enclosure. So when I spot clean, I don't disinfect that area where I picked up the urates or the feces. I take the urates and feces out, but I don't then spray it down and wipe it, because you're taking away their scent and some of their scent marking, and that can stress them out. I don't keep these corn snakes together. You also wouldn't want to keep two snakes together of separate sexes if you didn't intend to breed them. Because there's always a chance, even if you're not altering photoperiod or altering temperatures, that they could still reproduce.
That is so pretty.
This is some kind of a corn snake morph, this coloration. The normal wild corn snakes are more of like a red, orange, and brown all over. But I don't know what this one is called. And I could research that and find out, but I'm just not that into corn snakes.
She's just temporarily here, so.
I mean, I don't mind keeping her. But if the right home comes along and you think she'd be a perfect addition to your family, then contact us.
Yes. Yes. She's a pretty girl.